Welcome back to the Foreign Report, your weekly foreign policy show that gives you the gory details of geopolitics with hopefully some laughs along the way and a lot of group text messages. I'm Sina Ghaznavi, your foreign policy curious host with a Signal account, and our guest host, comedian, Columbia Journalism School grad, Travis Irvine joins us again.
Hey, new phone. Who dis? Which group chat is this?
Do you have a few minutes to chat?
I appreciate that everyone in the federal government uses as many emojis as I do.
Oh, no.
They're just like us.
Yeah.
They're just like us.
Noreen Malik is with us in the virtual studio. Your last show. We're going to miss you.
Sad.
Oh, man. We have an action-packed episode today.
Yeah.
We're obviously going to talk about, what are they calling it? SignalGate? Is that what it's called now?
I guess so.
Well, we're calling
That's what they're calling it now.
It is. It's called SignalGate now. We've got an interview that we're going to play some clips of from Matt Kelly, the editor of Radical Compliance, a blog that focuses on corporate governance and corporate compliance and regulatory issues. He was really interesting. I was just trying to find people to talk to. I talked to a information security expert that I know, a cybersecurity expert that I know on Signal. I talked to him.
Of course.
And then we have some news stories we're going to get to a little bit later. Maybe we'll touch on Russia, Ukraine, some stuff that's happening, these immigration crackdowns that are trying to do these deportations of Venezuelans that are being stopped by judges. The judges are getting their money's worth.
Oh, Lord. I
They're
hope
getting
so.
work done.
Yeah.
Honey, how was your day? Boy, is my gavel tired. It's like crazy what's happening right now. So let's get into SignalGate.
Here we go. Jump right in.
Oh, my God. Well, let me just say, breathtakingly incompetent.
Right?
It's like, I actually thought, we've talked about competitive authoritarianism. We've talked about the auto coup.
There's a weaponized incompetence.
There's weaponized.
Oh,
I
don't
was
forget
thinking
about
Right?
incompetent fascism.
Ooh.
Because that is my phrase. Incompetent fascism, because you couldn't try to be fascist if you wanted to more than anything in the world.
Yeah.
They're trying hard.
Yeah.
But they are so incompetent.
Bonkers, because you're telling me the alcoholic weekend host of Fox and Friends wasn't qualified for this job?
So incompetent.
It's
And let me just
impressive.
and I know we'll get into like the nuts and bolts. And I'm sure everyone has had this. We're recording on Wednesday, March 26th, so you'll see this on Friday, and by that time, I'm sure
even more bonkers things.
even more things will come out.
Dick pics start flying around in that Signal chat.
Oh God!
Texted like, look what I just bagged.
Marco Rubio sends it. Anyways,
Well, yeah. Well, Rubio, he was
it's
sending
the
very
hands.
specific.
Just send his hands.
Yeah.
This is so frustrating because what I'm already seeing is a fundamental problem with how Democrats approach something like this and Republicans approach something like this. Republicans are approaching this from, this is great. This is great.
This is transparency.
This is transparency. This is our leaders at work.
Right.
We should be applauding them.
We
They're
meant
killing-
to loop in that journalist.
Yeah,
on this whole thing.
yeah, I know.
We're always looping in journalists on plans.
And then the Democrats are like, this is awful. Here are the laws that you have violated.
Sure, yeah.
And let me just make it super clear, people. Facts win arguments. Passion wins elections. And the Democrats need to get your shit together and just hit home how incompetent these people are.
Yeah.
Because that is going to drive passion. Don't bring up Hillary's emails to me. Don't
sure.
bring up that there was no record keeping with Hillary's emails. Don't bring up that it was a third-party service that was outside the government purview. Don't bring up that she deleted these things and that also went in violation of the record keeping. Don't bring up to me that this is virtually the exact same thing that happened. I don't want to hear it.
You don't want to hear it? What about our emails, though?
What about our emails? Anyways, let's break this down real quick.
Here we go.
What happened?
Jump in.
So Jeffrey Goldberg has been doing the rounds. He's the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, and his initials are JG. And he was just minding his own business one day. He was actually in Salzburg for the 60th anniversary of The Sound of Music, I believe.
Wow.
And so it was a Thursday, and he gets an invite from, is it Mike Waltz? to like join like this chat. And then over the weekend, he gets invited to Houthi PC small group.
Right, that's the name of the chat.
Name of the chat.
Clearly regarding this great Sound of Music reunion or whatever it was.
And so he initially really thinks that this is all an elaborate phishing scam.
Yeah.
Like
No one's this stupid.
no one is this stupid. There couldn't possibly he is not only the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic,
Right.
but his focus is national security.
Oh,
Like
please.
this is his beat.
Yeah.
So surely you're not going to include this man on Houthi PC small group.
National secrets.
Not gonna do it.
No.
National security. Did you say national secrets?
Yeah, same thing.
So I'm just clicking through these images, and you have to see the screenshots of the conversations that were happening.
That's what I'm saying.
And-
not just the emojis.
Not just the emojis, which, by the way, if people don't know, Travis Irvine has been kicked out of more group chats.
I'm telling you. I'm trying to get kicked out of our group chat for this show.
Even just you texting Adam and I of just like coming over here, and I was like, okay,
I'm on my
great.
way.
He's liking do you people have that gives the reaction on every single message?
Look, I'm in a lot of group chats with comedians, and everyone's so funny. I got to ha-ha react to everything.
You don't have
You
to.
know I'd be ha-ha reacting all these
Don't.
guys.
Oh my God! You would have
Oh,
blown
yeah.
up Jeffrey Goldberg's spot.
Yeah,
they would have definitely
absolutely.
found you.
I just would have been the ha-ha you added
Just a
Jeffrey
bunch of like
Goldberg.
question mark reactions.
Yeah.
Oh?
And then prayer emojis, which are just like, come on, JD.
What is happening in this group chat? So first, for people that don't know, Signal is an end-to-end encrypted messaging service.
They delete eventually.
Well, you can set it to delete as well, right? And so that was what was also interesting here is that they set later in the conversation, you could see a little notification pop up that says like Mike Waltz set disappearing message time to 4 weeks, which is, I don't think in the FOIA rules for
Right.
that. I don't think that's in our record keeping.
Yeah, if you're a federal official,
Yeah.
elected or appointed,
Sure.
there are secure ways to communicate
Yes.
within the federal government system. You don't need to go invent your own that eventually disappear because that is illegal to not preserve records.
It's completely illegal. And the amount of stuff that they said. Now, the director Gabbard was in front of the Senate. Now they were in front of Congress this morning. And they just kept saying that there wasn't anything confidential said in this text thread or in this group chat.
Right.
And
just a lot of fun emojis.
just a couple guys hanging,
Hanging.
and a CIA operative that is undercover that has not been named and that will not be named. So that's not confidential.
Sure.
If they're not confidential, why don't we know the CIA operative's name?
Right.
I think we should if it's not confidential. I don't think so. So this is not confidential from Pete Hegseth. Team update, time now, 11:44 Eastern time. Weather is favorable, just confirmed with CENTCOM. We are a go for mission launch. 12:15 Eastern time, F-18s launch first strike package, not confidential. Enemies definitely don't care what type of plane and the time in
the
which
time
the
it's
plane
happening.
will be attacking PC.
Oh, man.
Houthis PC small group.
Right. And he didn't just know all this off the top of his head. It's been pretty much established that he was copying and pasting
Yes.
Right.
from documents on his phone into the Signal chat.
And so this, yeah, he's copying and pasting. 1345 trigger-based F-18 first strike window starts. Target terrorist is at his known location, so should be on time. Now, what's interesting about this is what Director Gabbard said. They didn't actually say the terrorist's name or specific location.
What?
This is like...
You're
this is
telling
like-
me the lady smoked weed with Joe Rogan?
Yeah.
Also unqualified?
This is like when your wife catches you cheating. You're in the bedroom. Your pants are around your ankles.
Sure.
You're like, honey,
This isn't what it looks like.
I wasn't inside of the woman.
Yeah, right.
I mean, that's not what happened.
Who are you, Pete Hegseth right now? Yeah. This is also how he tries to get away with his cheating.
Exactly.
Good
This
grief.
is not, no, that's surely not what's happening here. 14-15 strike drones on target. This is when the first bombs will definitely drop pending earlier trigger-based target.
They'll definitely drop. I like you get the definitely in there.
Definitely
We're just
drop.
It's not. This isn't optional.
Jeffrey
It's good
Goldberg.
to be certain.
It's good
Yes.
to be certain when you're dropping bombs, which of course we need to also be conscious of it. There are people on the ground here whose lives are impacted by all
The leader of the Houthis' girlfriend died. The whole building went down. So, people that are not enemy combatants definitely were killed in these strikes, which is something also really important to remember in all this. There's like an actual loss of life happening.
Yes.
On this show, we are laughing in the gallows because otherwise we would be driving our head through the drywall
Yeah.
and trying to live there.
And we are laughing at the officials' incompetence here. That is
Very
more
clear.
so. I mean,
Right.
and also it's borderline psychopathic with some of these.
It's insane.
To respond with this stuff with emojis.
It is
Fire emoji. Fist emoji.
Oh, God.
Flag.
God, it's so upsetting. Jeffrey Goldberg, while this is happening, by the way, this is now days.
So he's screenshotting these like a good journalist, right?
He's screenshotting them. He sees them, and he still, at this point, thinks it's fake.
Yeah.
But he knows now that they sent a schedule of bombings that he will know very shortly if it's actually real.
Because he's a national secrets journalist. And he knows how to follow this stuff. So that's what I appreciate about his reporting is he's now waiting. He now knows when it's going to happen. He's like, if this happens, this is real. If it doesn't, they're trying to hoax me.
Travis Irvine, Director of National Security. Secrets.
That's how I say the word. Secure it.
Securits.
You got to secure it.
For Last Podcast Network. Oh, God. And so these happen, and Jeffrey Goldberg, you know how he finds out if this is real? He goes to Twitter, X, and
Sure.
he types in Yemen in the search bar. It's like, oh, what do you know?
This is just good
There's
journalism.
bombings happening, and then he's like, here's the other funny thing. He probably has his own group chat where he's like, LOL, what is happening?
What is happening right now? Yeah.
What is going on?
I mean, it's nice that he is the editor, so he doesn't have to screenshot and text us all to his editor
Yeah.
and be like, you
Yeah.
can't believe the scoop I just got.
I was also thinking, as a lawyer, about the general counsel at the Atlantic
Yeah.
and how he was probably having she was having a nice weekend or something with their kids.
Right.
And they get this like
Text
flurry
from
of
Salzburg.
I think the entire national security apparatus of the United States just added the editor-in-chief of the Atlantic to a group chat about war plans. Okay, sweetie, we're gonna do a little Paw Patrol time. You can just sit here. You sit
I
here.
just got to look into this real quick.
We're just gonna, mommy, daddy, gotta go to work. I wanted to just quote my friend here, who's a cybersecurity guy.
Cyber secrets.
Securits.
Thank you.
Cybersecurits. And so I was asking him, I was like, okay, so this is, I keep prefacing this like, this is a stupid question, but there's no way Signal is approved for government use.
No, it's not.
And one of the things I learned is that the AP did a story. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was just going to say they're literally talking about illegal things illegally.
Yes.
Yeah.
On the illegal. Yeah. Don't use it.
So there's multiple layers of illegality.
AP did a story where like a ton of people, this is like a couple years ago, a ton of people do use Signal to be like, hey, I'm leaving Saudi Arabia. I'll hit you up from the skiff when I'm back. Or like general stuff. They don't use it for actual secrets.
Right.
Securits.
Securits.
Okay? They don't use it for that because there is a thing called SIPRNet, the Secret Internet Protocol Router Network. It's a system of interconnected computer networks used by the U.S. Department of Defense and the U.S. Department of State to transmit classified information up to and including information classified as secret.
Yeah.
So they do some packet switching. It's a completely secure environment. It provides, so they have their own internal internet.
Yeah, the federal government's had this stuff to work with.
They got pipes
Right.
that are secret.
Right. The tubes.
The secret tubes
the
are
old
secret.
Alaska Senator Ted Stevens used to call it.
Yeah.
Although
Series of
Radcliffe
tubes.
said that they do normally use Signal. I don't know if you heard that.
Oh, good.
They
In
do.
the FBI.
Oh, fantastic.
But it's like,
Yeah.
I get it. You want to use Signal for like some normal stuff. I don't actually have a problem with people doing that. I think there is the responsibility of a person in that director position to, know who's in the group chat.
Yeah.
Sure.
Maybe be like, hey, I know it's inconvenient. I got to go to a skiff or old Petey. Put down the Jim Beam, go to a skiff, and let us know.
He's a gin guy.
He's a gin guy?
Yeah,
Oh, God.
He started getting in gin because beer stopped working.
Oh, good.
How much of an alcoholic he
Is that true?
Yeah. Oh, that's
my
a fun
God.
clip. I'll find it for next show.
This gin. I do love a gin martini, though.
Well, so does Pete.
Up with a twist. Anyways, there's
14 on a weekend now.
That's a bit
lot.
excessive.
That's a lot.
Bit excessive when you're trying to bomb the Houthis. So my friend was saying there's a variety of other systems, networks, and applications for transmitting into a variety of levels of classification.
Right.
But transmitting, this is important. Transmitting is just one part. Signal transmits vis-a-vis an end-to-end encryption, which means anyone monitoring the traffic can't read it. So when they were saying that, whoever was abroad, could the packets be caught out of the air? No. However, once the info is on your phone,
Right.
it may or may not be encrypted on the device depending on the type of phone you're using. So a phone that's approved by the U.S. government for use in classified discussion is not only going to run government-approved apps. And by the way, my production company does a lot of work for big investment firms. We've got devices that are locked down. You can't get anything on these devices. You can't download anything of joy on these devices at all. They lock it down, okay? Because they take it that seriously, protecting people's information, okay? And it's very inconvenient, but it is very secure.
Right.
And it will also, so these government-run devices are also monitored for any potential signs of misuse. So personal phones, though, it's like the Wild West. You could just do whatever you want because it's not a government-issued device.
Right.
You could just do whatever you want. And so a government issue to discuss things on Signal, the threat isn't that the signal isn't secure. It's that you have no idea if all the phones in the discussion are compromised or not. So all this, as we talked about, avoids FOIA, the government records, that's a felony.
Yes.
Okay, not a misdemeanor. That's a felony.
Woo! Let's get him.
With sophisticated adversaries like intel organizations, the goal is never perfect security because they basically have unlimited time and resources. So they'll get through somewhere. The goal is to raise the cost so much that they redirect their efforts to less sensitive targets. And when we say that, we mean like less sensitive targets, meaning like easier ways to get it. There is no perfect security. There is no perfect. There is always ways because phishing happens. And Signal actually put out, there was like a big Homeland Security thing that went out that was talking about the vulnerability of Signal. That wasn't about the encryption vulnerability. That was about you can use phishing attempts. Like, hey, your UPS package is late.
Right.
Click this
link.
link.
Click this link. You owe this toll on a toll road.
Man, I've been getting a lot
I
of
just
tolls.
got one of those this morning.
That's the nationwide thing.
Yo, I freaked
it's a
out too because I
scam.
just got back from using the
road
tolls,
trip?
a
Yeah.
road trip,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh man, no. And like I started, I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah. See, it
Wait,
doesn't
Sina,
work
I
on
love
me.
how you said you described a road trip as getting back from using the tolls.
That's how we use the internet.
I
We
didn't
use
wanna-
our tubes.
I didn't want
When we
to.
go on a road trip, we use our
I
tolls.
didn't want to tell people where I was. I didn't
Yeah,
wanna- I didn't
sure,
wanna
sure,
disclose.
sure. Yeah, you
I
don't
use
wanna-
the tolls. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm not telling you anything.
See, those are secrets. There you go. And these scams don't work on me because I don't own a car. So
Perfect.
There we go.
Life
Gotcha.
hack.
We're working on that, people. Working on that. So Steve Witkoff, okay, he's the ambassador to
the Middle East.
Mid-
or
he's
what
the
is that?
Middle Eastern
Yeah.
envoy, right?
Envoy,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
So he's in this thing.
So his tweet was perfect, okay?
Okay.
And so around this whole question of like, were their personal devices being used for government information, which is such a huge problem, by the way.
Yep.
And again, we're not talking like, I will text you later from the skiff, okay? We're talking about 12:45. The bombs are dropping. Fist emoji. Yay!
Fire, react.
Steve Witkoff, he goes, this is his tweet. I am incredulous that a good newspaper like the Wall Street Journal would not check with me as to whether I had a personal device with me on either of my trips to Moscow. So he was in Moscow when all this was happening.
Oh, good.
If they had, they would have known the truth, which is I only had with me a secure phone provided by the government for special circumstances when you travel to regions where you do not want your device compromised. Oh, that's so responsible of you,
Wow,
Steve.
thank you, Steve.
That is why CBS News reported that Goldberg himself said that he, quote, has not recounted Witkoff making any comments in that group chat until Saturday after he left Russia and returned to the U.S. Oh, guess why, says Witkoff. Because I had no access to my personal devices
phone.
until I returned from my
Oops.
trip.
Busted.
That is the responsible way for me to make these trips, and that is how I conduct myself. Maybe it's time for media outlets like the Journal to what a blah 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 blah.
Wow.
Listen, Boomer.
Wow.
You just told everyone you used their personal device. Oh God.
Zoinks. Wow.
It's just incompetent fascism.
There it is.
I just can't. It's so funny. And, you know, there's a whole thing where it's like if it fizzles out within 48 hours, it'll probably go away. I want to just, if you care about making these people pay, don't let this go away.
Oh, please.
Repeat it at your dinner parties. Talk about how incompetent they are. Are you having dinner parties? You should. Have a lunch. Have a brunch. I haven't gone to brunch in a long time. Have a group text on Signal or any sort of unencrypted. Use SMS. I don't care.
Sure.
Incompetent fascism. That's what we're talking about here. Okay, so let's take a quick break. I'm Sina Gazavi, Travis Irvine, Noreen Monk. This is the Foreign Report. When we come back, we're going to hear from our interview with Matt Kelly, the editor of Radical Compliance. And maybe we'll hear a couple clips of Pete Hegseth.
Defending himself?
Maybe.
This will go well.
Holding people to account. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Sina Gazavi, Travis Irvine with us in studio. Noreen Malik for their last show in the virtual studio. We're going to miss you so much. We are talking about SignalGate, which is also sad, Noreen.
Equally.
Yeah.
Equally
What's sadder, Noreen leaving or the fact that our government's run by a bunch of imbeciles?
Honestly, Noreen leaving.
Yeah, that's true. I was expecting the second thing.
Plot twist.
I kind of expected this. I always knew there was going to be a self-inflicted wound like this for just how chaotic they were.
Sure.
I didn't think it was going to be this funny, though.
Yeah, and like only like 2-3 months in, like right away, I was like, oh, they won't get super incompetent until a few years.
You got to move fast and break things, like our national security apparatus.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yikes. Help me, please. Matt Kelly is the editor of Radical Compliance, a blog that focuses on corporate governance and corporate compliance and regulatory issues. He's written often about these issues in the private sector at radicalcompliance.com. Our wonderful producers, Noreen, and our incoming new producer, Danielle, got on a call and chatted with Matt, and we asked him first if Signal is approved for use at the Department of Defense or in other government agencies, and here's what he had to say.
Not to my knowledge. I am not aware of any preferred communication list that would include Signal. I can't imagine any circumstance where really you think about the importance of record keeping or the ability to find documentation later on where you would want a disappearing message app like Signal. So especially the higher up you go and the more sensitive this information is and the greater the duty they have to obey good record keeping law, no, there is no planet where this is a good idea. And like I said, the higher up you go, the less good this idea becomes.
Wow. Really knocked it out of the park.
The higher up you go. Well, there you could go higher.
Yeah.
That's true.
It's technically it could be Trump on there.
Right, but that's the interesting thing, right? Trump's old school. He doesn't do the text. He does calls and he takes notes, and then remember he would like rip up the notes and flush them down the toilet.
Honestly, more secure.
More secure than what
doing.
these guys are doing,
He
which
has
is insane.
Better security protocols
Yeah.
than the entire national security team.
Yeah, and he only does calls.
This is the highest compliment I think I've ever given this man.
He knows how to keep a secret. But he also knows how to clog a toilet, which is what I remember that being a story from his first administration.
You can't have one without the other.
Ripping all these papers and flushing them down.
And they put a little sign there, only toilet paper
Yes,
goes down the toilet.
yeah. Please
sir.
don't flush national secrets down the toilet. Kind of like our democracy.
And so we asked, a very basic question of Matt. And is this normal? Are top government officials always using Signal? Instagram DMs? Snapchat, perhaps?
Ooh,
Here's what he
Only
had to
the
say.
cool ones are using Snapchat.
Yeah.
right.
I don't know. That is the firm answer. Certainly, you could foresee or envision scenarios where lower level government officials might be using apps like that. Or intelligence officers who are out in the field, like spies. Sure, I could see where they would probably want to try and communicate in clandestine ways. Maybe Signal or other apps like that would make sense. Any government official higher up, though, why would you be using an app that has the ability to delete its permanent record? The whole point of being a senior official is that you are establishing policy, you're making decisions, you have to leave a record for this is what we did and this is why we did it. There are laws about preserving documentation and official communications. And you keep going back to the higher up the official is, the more important that documentation and record keeping becomes. I know President Trump was not involved in this Signal discussion, but think of him. Every single thing he does is documented. Every time he blinks his eye, there's probably a record of that somewhere. I have no idea if other past administrations, have they used texting? Probably. Were their apps secure? Were their devices secure? Were the networks secure? I would hope, but I don't know.
A really important part of what he said there, and it's one of the reasons I'm really interested in this topic in general, is the reasoning and logic behind the decisions we make. And I always love reading about that because that, to me, is where our values get displayed, right? Where our values as Americans kind of like on display. How does a group of people take what they did on a campaign trail, put it into policy? And I will admit, they are consistent in what they were saying. They hate Europe. They wanted to do these things. J.D. Vance had some policy positions that he was expressing on there.
Right.
What we saw on TV of Pete Hegseth is exactly the person he is in a text thread.
Yeah.
It's not it's not a show.
He's a gin guy.
So he's a gin guy, all caps, pathetic.
Right.
He knows who he is.
And by the way,
That's
him
nice.
speaking so poorly about Europe, buddy, good luck if we need some intelligence from them.
Yeah. Which
Good luck.
may be an upcoming story as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I really appreciate Matt's comments because this taps in what we were talking about earlier, right? Not just FOIA, but like National Archives. These are war decisions, right? Yes, in the field, if you're an agent or an interpreter, if there's things happening, you want to communicate quickly, fastly, securely, then you got to use tools on your phone, right? But again, if you're an official, there's got to be a permanent record. Even if it's classified, we know that classified documents eventually can become unclassified when they are no longer protected by that kind of secrecy. So that's the thing about all of this is that, as we've established, and I think Matt also kind of reestablished it for us, this is illegal for senior officials to communicate this way. There has to be a permanent record, especially about war decisions, because those are the things that end up in presidential libraries someday. But I guess Trump's presidential library is going to be very small because he flushed most of it down the toilet.
Yeah, it's going to just be the art of the deal on the toilet.
Yeah.
All right, and then we also asked him, why does record keeping even matter? Mm-hmm. And I think I love his answer because it really gets to the detail of why these things are important. Let's hear him.
Well, for a host of reasons. First and foremost, you'd want a record to be able to defend yourself in court if some sort of a incident happens or litigation is filed against you. Then presumably you'd want to say, well, no, this is why you're wrong. And here's all my evidence. That's the evidence, is this documentation. You would also want it for clarity within your own administration. So people
Clarity?
might want to know
Come on,
days or weeks or months after
on.
the fact exactly what did the president want us to do, or what did the secretary decide to do. Therefore, we will now go and do it. Well, now we can go back and look at the source document. And frankly, I think there is a bigger integrity issue here that if you have to commit something permanently and irrevocably on a piece of paper or in a text message or an email, you're hopefully going to take that more seriously and think about your words a bit more seriously and think about your duties and what you're trying to do. We all know that if we're just shooting the breeze with our friends on text message and we're thinking nobody's ever going to see it, we all say Lord knows what and things that we probably would not want out in the public record. That dynamic is still here too. But when you're a senior government official in charge of taking care of an entire country and trying not to go to war with people or deciding whether you want to go to war with people, you should think about that and take it more seriously.
A lot of thinking, Matt.
Yeah.
And these
hasn't
apps
met these
just
people.
lead you into this false sense of informality, kind of like what we saw with these messages, with the emojis and the pow and the flash and the flag. And none of that conveys a sense of the seriousness or the responsibility of what they're doing.
Come on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the deeper integrity issue that is afoot here that really is just, you got to wonder what planet were they on and what were they thinking? They probably weren't thinking at all.
Oh, Matt
that's
Kelly.
right.
Woke mind virus got him. Clearly.
Sure,
He
yeah.
wants integrity in
Hey.
these senior officials. He wants them to have,
Sick.
thoughtfulness.
It's
Sick.
It's
Sick,
the
poor
weekend.
guy. We
It's
should get him some help.
If it's the weekend, Pete Hegseth ain't thinking. He's drinking. I'm a gin guy.
That was Matt Kelly, editor of Radical Compliance.
Great commentary, though.
Big thank you. That was
very, very
awesome.
nice.
RadicalCompliance.com. Check it out.
And it just backs up everything we were saying. The
It
federal
really does.
government has had a secret set of tubes to communicate with this whole time, like we've been saying.
And it's not super difficult to use the secret stuff.
Right.
It's
Unless
just
you don't want it to be part of the permanent record.
we got some Hegseth stuff
Oh,
real quick.
yeah.
Let's just
Let's
listen to
see
this
what this
Heg,
guy-
and then we'll go to
I
a
wanna
break,
see how
and
the-
we'll move on from this.
Because, we've been talking about Pete so much. I mean, he is the one, him and Waltz, kind of initiated the whole group chat, right?
Yeah, well, Mike started it, and then
Pete
Mikey
was
Mike.
just copying and pasting all this
He
information.
copied and pasted.
Check out these secrets I found, boys.
He's
Glug,
probably,
glug,
I'm
glug.
sure while he was copying and pasting, he's like, how do I copy and paste from this PDF? It's so hard to select the text with my thumb. My
Yeah,
thumb keeps slipping.
Especially because I've got this drink in my other
Oh,
hand.
the little gin, I got martini on the screen. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, this office is so small.
Let's hear Pete Hegseth on President Joe Biden and security implications.
DOJ and FBI seems happy to take the word of Biden's lawyers, which is why it does feel like it's so much different than what happened to Donald Trump.
Well, look, unless the FBI is paying those personal attorneys, they shouldn't be taking anybody's word but their own investigators in the DOJ.
No.
I mean, that's their job. Unless they're, getting paid. And if they are, that would be our money. So maybe we go deeper. I don't think they are. But what else would be the reason for why at this point you don't tap every place he's ever been since he left office as a senator 15 years ago, since some of the latest documents date back to then? Why aren't you now going every place he's been? And by the way, who else has been with all those papers? Maybe you have 1,000 places you need to go now, depending on how many hands touched them.
Harris.
Yeah, I mean, he is the president of the United States, which does create complications.
Sure.
But it also increases the urgency. If the top man in the job handled classified documents this flippantly for that long, why was that the case? Was it really that he didn't know? Because when you take something out of a skiff, if you're a senator, you know exactly what you're doing. You know exactly what you're
Sneak
doing.
it out.
And you're moving it. You had to sneak it out. Or someone gave it to you with the wrong protocol, which you were complicit
Protocol?
in. And then you don't even know how many you have, and you've clearly hidden them from the public. You're the president of the United States. As was stated earlier by Governor Sununu, if at the very top there's no accountability, why should there be for Christian Saucier, the submariner who took photos in a submarine and didn't even show them to anybody, just had them, and they wanted to throw away the key on the guy? That's the two tiers of justice that exist. This is going to haunt the Biden campaign should he try to run.
Man, I'm glad.
What a
there's not-
takedown.
Yeah,
by
I'm
a
glad.
not hypocritical guy at all.
There's definitely not two tiers of justice. That Pete Hegseth is really going to hold himself to account for all this stuff.
Oh, of
Wow,
course,
I
I'm
appreciate how honorable he's been in accepting blame.
Yeah. It's not like he's ever had any problems with other people doing what he just did.
No.
Whether it's Joe Biden or maybe someone else.
So, no.
Hillary Clinton, perhaps?
I just.
You don't want to hear the old what about her emails again?
Because it's just you open up the Hillary door and then you have to bring in all the Hillary stuff.
Well,
It's all like
we can just do it with a broad brush.
Okay.
She was using a private server in her
Yes.
New York home to answer classified emails when she was Secretary of State. That
Yes.
was it.
yeah,
For years. She was doing it for years.
doing it for years.
And then when she got caught, she smashed everything.
You miss her.
Bleached it, right? Bleach pit and smashed it. So she
She
didn't
probably was like, I'm going to delete these emails, and they just unplugged the server. It's like, ha ha ha!
That's protocol.
deleted.
Sure. So, not a great look, but
Hegseth is a Gen X guy, right? He's not a boomer.
I don't know, all those tattoos.
No, I don't think he's a boomer.
He's not a boomer.
He should know
I say Gen X for
better.
sure. Yeah. Oh,
He
yeah.
should know. You know what you're doing. I was on Reddit trying to look at these various like Army, Navy groups because they all handle classified data and they were all talking about it and stuff. And I know Reddit is not like, whatever. It is what it is. But I saw multiple comments of people saying, I've had friends that have just accidentally walked into a skiff with a phone with like their device. And then they get Article 15, which I didn't know what that was either, so I had to look that up. That's when you get unilaterally punished by your commanding officer. No trial, no like.
Because you entered the skiff.
Just the mere entrance of a skiff.
Oh. And it was crazy that Pete Hegseth also mentioned skiff
Yeah.
Yeah.
and protocol.
And protocol and accountability and gin martinis. I was weird
Yeah, I
to bring
loved
that
how
up.
insane he looked.
Right.
He's just so crazy. I'm going to have a gin martini. All this gin martini talk.
Making me thirsty. It's not so much protocol as a protocol.
When we come back, protocols. Oh, Lordy. When we come back, we're going to move on from SignalGate.
Sure.
And we're going to talk a little bit about the judiciary and these deportations that are happening and the Alien Enemies Act. And maybe we'll get to some other stuff, but a lot of stuff is happening. So much is happening. We're trying to keep the show tight.
Sure.
Noreen Malik in the virtual studio. I'm Sina Gazzaby. Travis Irvine. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back to the Foreign Report. I'm Sina Gazzaby. We just talked about SignalGate. Travis Irvine is our guest co-host. He's joining us in the studio, in the virtual studio, is Noreen Malik for her last dance. And for your last dance, why don't you take us through the current state of the immigration crackdown, Noreen?
So fun.
Lots of jokes. I want a bit every eighth word, okay?
Perfect. Okay, well, a few episodes ago, we did talk about Mahmoud Khalil's arrest. And back then, we thought ICE was maybe only going to go after brown people.
Hell
but
yeah.
That's actually not the case. No
Oh.
one's safe.
That doesn't make sense.
Equality, ever heard of it?
They're so inclusive now. I'm happy.
I know, it's nice. That's woke culture. Now, we'll circle back to the white people affected, but just a quick update on Mahmoud Khalil. And a quick refresher, if you don't remember, he's a student activist. He was a student activist at Columbia and was the lead negotiator during the pro-Palestine encampments. Oh, and he had a green card. But ICE essentially kidnapped him from his own apartment on March 8th. And the administration accused Khalil of being a Hamas sympathizer. But now they are justifying his deportation by saying he failed to disclose past affiliations with the British Embassy in Beirut and the UNRWA on his green card application. His attorneys are arguing that this is basically just retaliation for his pro-Palestinian activism, because it is, and a federal judge has blocked his deportation for now, so he remains detained in Louisiana while his legal team challenges his detention as unconstitutional, and they are trying to get him out.
I think you're going to hear this throughout this whole segment. This move is, I believe, the Trump administration knows that they are going to get rejected at the courts. But what it does do is it creates fear in a lot of people. It quells speech. it'll probably make people just leave the country because
Yeah.
they're afraid.
Right.
I already know friends that are not re-entering the country, American citizens that are not re-entering the country because they have, they were newly citizens from other countries.
Wow.
And they're afraid of being held up at the border
Sure.
for a variety of reasons. And when you get detained, they can detain you. And as you're going to see, some of these people are detained. It's not like a few hours.
No.
It'll be weeks.
It's crazy. And also, I don't know if you guys heard about that another student at Columbia, Yunseo Chung, who is another legal permanent resident, is suing the Trump administration after ICE tried to arrest and deport her for being, again, involved in pro-Palestinian demonstrations, and is now being accused of threatening U.S. foreign policy, which was the same reasoning for detaining Mahmoud Khalil. And just some more heartwarming stories here.
My heart was cold before, so I'm really looking forward to getting my heart.
I'm
pretty
looking
Great.
forward to my next
Good,
Columbia
good.
Journalism School reunion.
My
It
heart
sounds like
was-
it's very
Oh, yeah.
exciting.
Oh, yeah.
After the multiple Celsiuses I had today, my heart is about to explode.
Oh,
but
good.
I feel great. I feel in
Perfect.
control of my life. I'm slowing
Great.
time down now. Okay, go ahead.
So, Rebecca Burke, who is a 28-year-old British tourist, was detained in the U.S. for 19 days earlier this month after immigration decided she needed a work visa for her planned stay with a host family. Yeah, so she came to the U.S. on January 7th and then was later detained at the U.S.-Canada border and sent to a detention facility in Washington state where she was shackled during deportation. So basically, she was on a 4-month backpacking trip and
Terrorist.
did like...
Sorry, it just
Yeah?
happens. I see a backpack
Oh, yeah.
on a British
On a British
woman,
person?
on a British woman.
See something,
Yeah,
say something.
It's,
Terrorist.
It's too much. It's too
Uh-huh.
much.
Not, not in my America.
No, sir.
She came for like a work for free stay situation and was staying with a
Terrorist for
family
free
in
stay.
Oregon. Yeah, pretty sketchy if you ask me.
Trouble.
And then was planning on doing the same exact thing in Vancouver, but was denied entry to Canada because she had a tourist visa and she needed a work visa. Then, when she tried to get back to the US, she was refused re-entry and classified as an illegal alien. Now, she's back home and planning on creating a graphic novel about the whole experience.
All right.
Hell yeah.
I mean, now we need to put her in prison. Now
yeah, right. Hold on. Yeah, we'll stop you right there.
Stop. You
How many-
had me until graphic novel, Rebecca.
It is pretty wild.
She's white. She's white.
Okay.
Oh, it's poor Rebecca.
Graphic novels. It is funny how many books got written about the Trump administration
Oh,
from
yeah.
the first
Yeah.
time. How
I mean-
many books are we going to get out of this second run? Good grief.
Too
A
many.
lot.
And graphic
Now that
novels.
white people are being affected.
Yeah.
I know.
Way more podcasts. All right. That's just next.
Okay, up next, Dr. Rasha Alaweya, a Lebanese kidney transplant specialist at Brown University.
Oh, terrorist.
Yeah. Yep.
Number one, a
Kidney
kidney
transplant
Isn't
specialist?
that what Bin Laden got? A kidney transplant?
Oh, yeah, he was on. Yeah.
He was on dialysis? Jesus.
She was deported last week despite having a valid H-1B visa and
The
a court
genius
order.
visa?
Yep,
This is the
temporarily blocking her removal. Dr. Alaweya was detained in Boston after coming back from visiting Lebanon and was held for 36 hours before being sent to Paris, allegedly in defiance of a federal judge's order. Yeah, this is insane. Her colleagues have been speaking out because she does have a pretty important job. And now there's a court hearing scheduled for her, and Brown University is advising international students to reconsider any travel plans.
I just hope someone from the administration has to go under this person's knife and get a kidney transplant because
Oh,
the
sure.
irony is
Yeah.
just, and they're going to do a great job and it's all going to be normal. And that's what doctors do in this country. And this is just another disaster.
Yeah.
And when you don't do things the right way, like due process is just as fundamental
that?
to our Constitution.
Right. Do what?
Do who?
Mm-hmm.
Do you? It's due process. It's
Oh,
the
yeah.
due process is like it is inconvenient. Inherently, due process is inefficient because it retains freedom. It ensures that you don't take a fucking person who does kidney transplants and throw them in a cell. So it's ridiculous.
Yes.
All right, we got one more. This is the Canadian, right?
yeah. Wait, did you say her name is Yasmin? Is it Jasmine?
Oh, I always do
I
the
was-
Persian pronunciation because that's how I grew up.
okay.
So if
Yeah,
I
yeah,
see
yeah,
that,
yeah,
sorry.
No. I just wanted to make sure. Okay, so Jasmine Mooney, a 35-year-old Canadian former actress, was detained for 12 days by ICE after trying to apply for a TN visa, which is a visa that allows professionals from Canada and Mexico to stay temporarily in the U.S. Her paperwork was flagged even though she had previous approvals, and she was arrested and transferred to ICE detention centers in California and Arizona. She was deported back to Canada and banned from the U.S. for 5 years.
Whoa.
Well, you'll have a new administration then. That'll be good.
Well, that-
Probably
yeah.
not.
Yeah,
Probably
honestly.
good.
Yeah, at
It's
that
like-
point, just stay away.
Stay
for
put.
Yeah.
5 years.
What's the point?
Yeah.
Skip that trip.
Oof. That's a lot of detainments right there.
It's a lot of
What do we call that segment? Immigration roundup? I think roundup is probably a bit of a triggering word here.
I don't know. Roundup's the way to go.
Maybe don't call it that.
The thing that the administration has been using are all these old laws, are all of these kind of like draconian ways of doing it. Again, they know that the courts are going to stop these things, but if they can stop people from coming to America, if they can stop people from speaking out against policies about this government, then that's a win for them.
Sure.
Right? They actually think, again,
Just scare them. out of
villains
doing it.
are heroes of their own story, and they believe what they're doing is in the national interest. This is the America First policy. We had the Aliens Enemies Act of 1798.
That's a long time ago.
Is it really 1798?
Yeah.
Sweet Jesus.
Yeah. It was
It-
against the French or something.
It is
Yeah.
incredible. And so Trump has been trying to deport these Venezuelan gang members, or really it's a pretext to deport anyone. And he's trying to do it with these guys. There's this whole story, if you are following it, where there were planes that literally took off and a judge said, these people that were in America need to have their day in court, due process.
Right.
And so bring them back, turn the planes around. And they were all like, sorry, we didn't turn them around. And they just landed those planes in El Salvador. And those people are in El Salvadoran prisons doing manual labor right now.
Whoa.
And what's happening under this act is that what Trump is saying is that Venezuela controls these gangs, which is funny because he's also saying Venezuela is like a lawless place and there's no rule, there's no control over the country. So wait, so Venezuela has no laws or rules or anything, but the gangs are controlled by the Venezuelan government. So you need a state sponsor of these things. So I don't know, you just got to figure that out, Johnny.
Sure. Yeah. None of this makes sense at all. But it is also like, the Alien Enemies Act to grab old laws.
That's a classic. That's a deep cut.
I mean, it is like even there's just you can just grab any old law and just this applies now.
Well,
clearly.
these 8 words in
Yeah.
this law, we just don't. And so the thing I love about the courts, and this is going to sound stupid, but it's like they actually read the law.
It's just, Blah, blah, blah. What? Judges, experts at law?
And then we have a whole branch that's just like, hey, you're going to apply. It's like the argument, right? Arguments work in court.
Yeah.
But what they're also doing, again, this is drumming up the base of the Republican Party. It's drumming up the MAGA base.
They see the pictures of these
they're
guys
like,
going to the
absolutely,
prison.
this is
Yeah, yeah.
fantastic. And then the counter argument that they say is like, what, you want terrorists in the
you
country?
want them here? You want them here?
You want the gang members here killing everybody? No, we don't want gang members
We
here.
don't. We want due process, though.
It's the same thing with the death penalty. It's like, I'm against the death penalty because it's not perfect.
Sure.
You cannot be perfect when it comes to the death penalty. The death penalty results in innocent people being killed.
Right. By the state.
By the state, which is us. That's us. We all as a country are like, we're okay with innocent people being killed. That is the crux of the hypocrisy of being American that we all have to live with and deal with. But at the same time, this due process of people being deported, everyone needs a court date.
Oof.
And so we have a court date so that you don't deport some mom of 3 that you're like, oh, she's in a Venezuelan gang.
Mm-hmm.
And so this is the crux of the problem.
Yeah. You can't deport without going to court.
Okay.
Hey, that's good. Write that down.
That's what I'm here for, is the slogans.
Deport without going to court. Let's end with something I want you to share.
Oh, sure. I've
will-
got a little JD Vance roundup.
Let's do a little JD Vance roundup before we go.
All right. Well, it does kind of pertain in a way to the wonderful SignalGate, the text chain between our wonderful leaders of this country. You may have noticed there's a couple things going on with J.D. Vance right now. And, again, J.D. Vance from my home state. We have the same birthday.
No
He's
way.
a year
God.
younger than me. I know, yeah. Oh, I hate J.D. Vance for much different reasons than everyone else. It's like I ran for office, unqualified, didn't win. He ran for office, unqualified, did win. We
Very
share the
much
same
so.
birthday.
Yeah.
I mean, I hate J.D. Vance just because he's so much more professionally successful than I am.
Yeah.
In all the same endeavors. But I always keep track of him. There's a couple things going on right now. First of all, he's one of the least liked vice presidents in American history. At this point, they've done the polling, and at this point, and especially compared to like our last vice president, Kamala Harris, who I think, even Democrats gave her a lot of heat during the Biden administration. I thought she was a better presidential candidate than she was a vice president, which is, unfortunate, probably didn't help. But J.D. Vance is one of the least popular, disliked vice presidents in American history, and the polling shows us that is true because he's well, it's just his demeanor. The way he's so, I know better than you, and then also dismissive. It's just his style, right? It's very arrogant.
And what the specific stat, I'm trying to just find it here, is his unfavorables.
Yes, his unfavorables right now. And again, we are 3 months in. So, since they started keeping track of polling of this type for administration.
I always love that. Since the origin of
polling.
polling.
Yeah. Since we started now, again, he's really not up against a lot because they haven't been polling for a long time, but still pretty significant to me.
His unfavorables. So this is what I call the hate index.
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I really do believe that
Which
the hate index runs everything.
Won't bode well for him if he tries to be the heir to the MAGA movement in 2028.
Exactly. His unfavorables are at 48%. Nearly 1 in 2 people hate this fucking guy.
That's crazy. And then, if you go up to anybody, I even remember last year when I was covering the RNC for LPN on our Patreon channel, and when it was announced, we were on the ground when it was announced J.D. Vance, and I was asking people outside the Republican National Convention, be like, what do you think J.D. Vance just named as the VP? And they're like, what? That guy? He doesn't add anything. There's a lot of people who are like, it should have been Marco Rubio. So that's J.D. Vance. He was hated then. He's hated now. And in a related story, Trump, of course, won't actually say out loud, is J.D. Vance the heir to the MAGA movement?
Yeah.
He usually says, well, we'll see. There's even this article opines that maybe Trump will give it to Don Jr. And if you're giving something to Don Jr. and you're giving something to J.D. Vance, one thing that we know for sure is Trump is going to send you to Greenland when you piss him off.
Whoa.
And this is something that may have just been kicked off by this text chain, the SignalGate, is that J.D. Vance, you may have noticed, he was usurping, I think you mentioned it earlier, he was saying things that was like, well, the president really doesn't understand this or doesn't know this. So J.D. Vance is right off of the bat saying, yo, Trump's dumb, but I'm going to weigh in and say, this is my point of view, and it's correct. And when you get busted usurping the big man, you get sent to Greenland.
Oh, he's being sent this coming Friday to visit a Space Force base to, quote, check out what's going on with the security there.
Right. And originally, he was not supposed to go on this trip. It was just going to be his wife, Second Lady Usha Vance, and she was going to take their son. They were going to go to a dog sledding competition.
Oh, this is punishment.
This is what I'm saying.
100%
He's like, JD, what?
punishment.
Greenland? I love deporting people. Why don't you go with your wife and your kid? Oh, dog sledding? I got something way more fun. Space Force. Go say hi to Space Force. And even Vance has been like, had to go to his son and be like, remember how we were going to see all the dogs?
Yeah.
And we're going to see men in spacesuits
Oh,
who aren't actually in space or going to space anytime soon. So there you go. That's your J.D. Vance. He's disliked by the public and maybe now disliked even more by his boss.
And his son.
TheForeignReportLPN@gmail.com is the email. Send us a question. We'll answer it.
Or just text us on Signal.
Text us on Signal.
We get a group chat going.
Get a group chat.
We'll get a group chat going.
Can we do that? Can we start a big group chat on Signal and then just everyone? That'll spin out.
Well,
who's an expert out there?
Jeffrey Goldberg.
Jeffrey Goldberg.
He's good at national secrets.
Secret?
Securits.
Securits?
Yeah.
I blame the Celsius, which is not a sponsor yet. Celsius, if you're out there, anyone that works for Celsius, I want you guys. I'll do a live read.
I'll do a 90-second ad in 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Thanks to Celsius.
Noreen, I just want to say you are an amazing producer.
Thank
You've
you,
been a great
Noreen,
creative
for
partner in the
everything.
work here. And we're
Thank
gonna miss
you. Thanks for having me on for 25 episodes. I guess 24. I missed one. 24.
Oh, wow.
Don't bring it up.
That's the same commitment she'll bring as the next mayor of New York
There
City.
we go.
Malik for mayor. Feeling
Yes.
seen with Noreen.
Yes, I'm hiring Travis for slogans and button
slogan guy.
making.
That's great. Travis Irvine, USA. I'm at Seated Now. Check us out on Instagram and all the places. We'll see you next week.